some people who are
Oh, sorry.
who are gonna no, you're good. Yeah, you have some people who are gonna wanna, sit down and listen to someone talk for an hour. But I mean, to your point, this day and age, sometimes people just want the highlight reel, right? They just want the greatest hits. So it's a
Right.
great idea. It's a great idea.
I'm sure you guys at the Bruins organization have are the same. I mean, I follow your guys' platforms and I see the quick, easy, like that's how I keep up to date because I'm not watching every game or watching every, clip
Right.
ever. So, um,
Right. Exactly. I mean, and that's how I consume sports. I mean, you mentioned it as being a young guy, but I, for me, being a father and having just a busy adult schedule,
mhm.
it's easier to keep up with sports in that way. Like on this past Sunday, I mean, I was watching the Red Zone channel
I know.
all day and just give me the hits.
I love that Scott Hansen. He's the man.
Mhm.
But I mean,
He's
the
incredible.
second those Pats are on, they're on the TV. I shut the red zone off.
That's right. You're a New England guy, right?
Yeah, so I'm from Northborough, Massachusetts. I'm not sure if you know where that is.
I know. Yeah, I
Um,
know. I have family over there.
yeah, like near Worcester, like just outside
Yeah.
of Worcester. Yeah.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
I did a little research. You're Weymouth, right?
I'm in Weymouth. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like 40 minutes from me or something like that, 45.
Not too bad. Yeah. My wife's aunt and uncle live in Northborough, so occasionally we have to go there for
No way.
holidays or whatever. Yeah, it's not too far. Nice town.
Small world, yeah, small town too, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I love
So
Mass. Yeah.
not to hijack your you asking me questions, but how did you end up at WVU from Northborough?
Yeah, so I chose WVU. I actually went to the University of New Hampshire for a semester, just because I was always interested in that school and I loved it. It really just didn't work out for me. And I ended up getting a college advisor. And this school checked a lot of my boxes. I actually wanted an OCF, which is an Orthodox Christian Fellowship. It's like an organization I'm a part of here. I wanted a church that I could go to along with I knew I wanted to go into sport management, and this program was fantastic. So it kind of just checked all my boxes. And everyone's like,
That's
"Yeah, like,
awesome.
why'd you go to
Yeah.
West Virginia?" But I wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, it's been great.
I mean, I used to get those questions too. I'm originally from Connecticut, and I used to get the same questions of how you ended up at WVU. People just assumed I'd end up at UConn because that's where a
Right.
lot of people in Connecticut end up. But similar to you, I mean, it checked a lot of boxes. The sport management thing was a huge part of it.
Hmm.
When I was there, the football program was, top 10 in the country. Basketball team went to the Final Four my
Oh,
senior year. Like both of those teams were doing so well and wanting to work in sports. It felt like the natural fit to go to a college where sports is important and successful. So
yeah. I
I
think
was just curious. I always ask when I find out there's a New Englander other
no,
than
I
myself.
honestly, I think we have very similar reasoning. I mean, why would you not want to be here? It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's the middle of nowhere. You leave Morgantown and there's nothing, but it's a college town, so.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
been well. I'm gonna throw it back on you. Tell me a little bit about like yourself, like growing up, because I know again we're both mass holes, but what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up again in Connecticut, but a Boston sports fan. I'm from Northern Connecticut, so right on the state line of
Mhm.
Massachusetts, not on the New York half of Connecticut. So grew up
Oof.
a Boston sports fan. Um, I did so out of high school. I actually wasn't too sure what I wanted to do with my life or with schooling. So I actually did a couple of years of community college in Connecticut, which is great. Did a
Mhm.
lot of my general classes and took those 2 years to really grow up and figure out what I really wanted to do. And to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, that's where WVU came in. I was looking everywhere just to see the place that made sense to get into the business side of sports, and that's how I ended up in West Virginia. So I was there for 2.5 years, graduated in 2010. After that, and while I was there, I was an officer in the sport management club I did a lot of the stats for the football and basketball teams. So I don't even know if this is still a thing, but back then, we'd print, a stack of 100 pieces of paper of all the stats of the past quarter of the football game or the basketball game. And we'd run them up and down to the media, down to the court. And we were, basically stat runners.
Right.
So I did that for, the last two football seasons I was there, I did that every game just about.
Wow.
So that was a big jump being one of the stat boys, because like that was me realizing, okay, I'm not as much like I'm a fan, but I'm going to consume this also as a worker, which, ended up being my career, and the rest of my life is, consuming sports, working games and stuff. So did that. That was a good experience I got. I also interned for the Connecticut Sun, which is a WNBA team that plays at Mohegan Sun. I interned with them my senior year at WVU. So graduated in 2010, didn't have a job lined up, but I knew I wanted to keep getting more experience. So I reached out to a minor league hockey team in Hartford, Connecticut. And it was a cool situation because with them, there was a new group that came in and took over this team from the New York Rangers. And they took over all the marketing and selling of the team. And this new group used to be the owners of the Hartford Whalers, 20 years prior.
Oh yeah.
And so they owned this new, this minor league team in Hartford, and they were trying to revamp everything, rebrand everything, change the team name, try to get some hype, because they were trying to generate interest to get the NHL back to Hartford. So it was a cool experience. I emailed some of their people, and they let me do a post grad internship, you could call it. So I did that for a few months. While I was doing that, I was also substitute teaching. I taught a sixth grade English class for 2 or 3 months.
Where was that?
That was also in Connecticut. So that was actually in my hometown, in the middle school that I went to. So while I'm interning for this minor league hockey team, I'm also, I also want to, make some more money too. I'm fresh out of college. So
Right.
I applied to be a sub teacher. The first day I substitute taught, at the end of the day, the principal called me into his office, the exact principal that I had, 10 years before that, and asked me, hey, do you want to teach the same sixth grade English class for the next 2-3 months? Because that teacher was off for an extended period. And I said, yeah, of course. Zero teaching experience. I'm just trying to make it sports. And here I am teaching sixth grade English until 2:00, and then going to Hartford, Connecticut to work for a minor league hockey team. So that was pretty crazy. That summer, school year was over. I did some janitor work. I was a janitor at the schools, cleaning the classrooms, getting it ready for the school year. All the while I'm applying everywhere. I want a job in sports. And so I'm applying literally everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, sure, I want to be in Boston. I want to be in New England, because this is where I'm from. But for that first job, I wanted to, cast a wider line and make sure that I was, getting my name out there. The more states you're okay working in every state, then
Right.
your chances of getting a job are that much better, right? There's more jobs to apply for. There's better chances that you get a job. Mm-hmm. Eventually, August 2011. So this is 7 months after graduation. August 2011, got a job offer with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh, sweet.
And that was my break into sports, really. I went down there, and family and friends were sad to see me leave, because I had just come back from West Virginia, and now I'm going to Florida. But I had told them, I said, me taking this job gets me that closer to being in Boston, working for a Boston pro sports team. Like, this is the experience I need. I need to get my foot in the door. And once I get my foot in the door and get this experience, I'll be more accessible and more attractive, I guess, to the teams I want to work for. So I went down there, did that for 5 months. I did that for 5 months. So it was August 2011 to December 2011. And December 2011 is when I got a job offer with the Bruins, and been here ever since. So that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. It's honestly really refreshing to hear, because I kind of relate to you in a sense of, of course I want to work, back in Boston for one of the teams that, I grew up with. But right now it does seem like a reach, because like you said, it's tough. It's a hard industry to get into sometimes. But it's funny because I was reading this article about you from, I'm sure you're familiar, the College of Applied Human Sciences did an article on you where you were just saying exactly what you said, how you're saying, I was trying to get my first job, get my foot in the door, what's going to go anywhere.
I guess I need new material, huh?
It's good though. You're sticking to the script.
Yeah.
It was, but I was just talking with a professor, because I'm only a sophomore, but I'm not always the best at looking at my future, because I don't worry about it. I kind of just know it's going to work out. Like I just feel that I'm going to be successful, so I'm not worried. But it's nice to hear that you said you took, you went to Tampa Bay, right? It was Tampa Bay, right? You said?
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah,
Yeah.
Going there as a Red Sox fan, so that was
Right.
another instance where it's like questioning your, like, you're not a fan anymore. Like, you're going into this to be in sports, and like you can
Right.
work for any team.
You
But
can't wear a Pedroia jersey walking in there.
Right. Exactly.
So what is, I don't know if you touched on it. What exactly did you do in Tampa? Like before, because now, you're the fan relations manager, but that's, I'm sure, not where you were standing in Tampa Bay, right?
Right. Yeah. So I can kind of give you the path between that and today. So with the Rays, it was entry level position. The other people within the department, I think there were 9 or 10 of us, all had the same job, all pretty much right out of college, trying to get into sports. And the position was inside sales. I think the exact title was ticket sales representative, but the common term throughout the sport industry is that you're an inside sales representative. And what you're doing is you are actively trying to sell that team. You're trying to sell season tickets for that team, trying to get people, aware of the product and of what, what the prices are, where you can sit. Yeah, everything. Like you really are, especially in a market like Tampa, where they don't necessarily care about baseball as much as they care about college football or going to the beach or whatever. There's a lot of entertainment options in Tampa, and baseball I don't think is up there for a lot of people. But it was a good challenge, to have to call, say, 100 residents of Tampa or St. Petersburg, Florida, every day, and try to pitch them on the Tampa Bay Rays. It was a challenge, and it was a really good education. I thought it complemented my college education very well, because in college you learn about all aspects of the sport industry, like sport law or facilities or whatever, governance of sports. Like you learn about all different fields, and then being able to get the education of inside sales really gave me you're in the mud of it. Like now you're in it, and it really was a different way of learning about the industry. And I remember a VP of ours at the Rays at the time, he had said something like, every job in sports you're selling. Mm-hmm. You're either in baseball ops and you're building a roster that sells the team, or you're selling the team as a salesperson, or as someone that's marketing the team, or as the graphic designer. Every position you're selling a sports team. And so that kind of opened my eyes to, what we were doing, and how important it was that we were doing that kind of outreach. And so from there, I don't consider myself a salesperson at all. I took this job because I wanted to be in sports, and just working in a front office alone is great exposure.
Mhm.
Because you're around all these people who have awesome experience, who have worked for all these different teams. And so that in itself was a great education. But um,
So you didn't have a minor in professional sales, is what you're trying to say?
yeah, exactly. I had no background in sales. Again, I taught sixth graders.
Yeah.
I cleaned
Janitor,
up classrooms, right? Like there's no selling there. Although, teaching sixth graders, you are very much trying to sell whatever you're teaching.
everything.
But yeah, again, I went there just to get my foot in the door. And from there, I realized I was actually pretty good at it because all I'm doing is talking about sports all day.
Right.
I'm on the phone just talking about the game last night and how the Rays are going to make the playoffs next month. And like, I'm not selling, a printer or, a phone or something. I'm selling something that I care about and that I'm passionate about. So that was also an eye opener. Was I may not be a salesperson, but I can talk about sports all day. And that's what I did. I knew from that experience, though, that I really enjoyed the relationship side of what I was doing.
Mhm.
I enjoyed talking to these fans, meeting the fans, giving them experiences that they aren't getting otherwise. And so from there, I realized, and of course, I'm realizing this as a job opens up with the Bruins that speaks to me. So
Mhm.
I'm realizing I want to do less selling and I want to do more relationship building with fans and with season ticket holders. The job with the Bruins was just that. It was a fan relations account executive position where I came in and I had 600 clients right off the bat. And
Well,
my job was to make sure that they had a good enough experience this season that they'll want to come back next season. And again, it was the relationship building. Like that was the big part of it, is being able to connect with the people. And again, I'm not really selling them because they already have tickets to every game. That's what a season ticket holder is. They have tickets to every single game. My job though is to make sure that everything's good so they come back year after year and we retain them, we retain their business. So I did that from, I got hired December 2011 and I did that for 6 years, 6 seasons. My boss left and I got his job. So now I oversee the entire fan relations department, and I've been doing that since 2017.
wow, that's quite a bit to be thrown at you right when you get into the Bruins organization, though. They're like, here's your 600, make sure they stick around. You're like, oh,
Yeah, and that's it too. It's with us, especially coming from Tampa. Again, it's such a different sports market in Tampa
oh,
versus Boston, Massachusetts. It's the expectation is high every year. And
right.
like we expect to win a Stanley Cup every year, and that trickles into everything we do.
Mhm.
So us thinking that we can win the cup every year means that we expect to retain all of our season ticket holders every year. It
Mhm.
means we expect to sell more retail at our team store than we did the year before. Like it just everything we do, we have a bar that's set pretty high. The difference though, again, in Tampa, I'd call people, they wouldn't know who the Rays were. You walk down the street and you hear random people talking about the Bruins, or you go to Northborough and there's people talking about the Bruins.
Everywhere.
So it's certainly a different beast. And it was definitely an eye opener going from that to this. Um, but I love it because people care, and it's a great environment to be around. But can you kind of see the lineage of
Yeah.
what I was doing with the Rays and how it evolved into what I started doing here, and now kind of what I do here?
Yeah, honestly, I'm glad you touched on that because it's hard to sometimes put into perspective. Like I grew up in a winning dynasty, right? With the Patriots and the Sox and whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
That's all I know is like winning, and which is not so bad really. But I don't
Yeah.
really think of like in Tampa, right? Kind of like you said, it is like college. Like everything's college down there. Like UCF, Florida, whatever it is. That's like their main focus. And it's funny when you say like you can just call someone up and they're not even familiar with a professional team. Like that's crazy to me. Just because of Boston, how much we bleed sports. That's all we talk about.
Right. And that in itself was just a good education, right?
Right.
Like that was just a good training for me to be able to experience that. And it's also made me grateful working here for the Bruins in this role. And I'm going into my 13th season. So, I've been here a while and I've seen a lot of good teams, and it just makes me appreciate what we have here. It just makes things, it's just such a different perspective to get that perspective in Tampa and now be here for as long as I've been here. You really do appreciate it. And like when fans, I always tell my staff, when our fans are mad, like last year we get bounced in the first round and
We don't have to talk
everyone's upset. Everyone's right. We don't want to talk about it. Everyone's negative about it and everyone's upset, but at least they care. Because
Right.
again, if this is, a smaller market somewhere else and they get bounced in the first round, they might not care. And that's not a good sign of the health of your business.
Right.
Because people care, it means your business is healthy and, they have a passion for what you do. So
Right. You and I may have some bias, but who are we kidding that we're, the best sports city in the world. So you're
that's
gonna,
right. We
you're
are.
gonna have a little bit of bias, but let's be honest, I don't always think about it like that too. It's kind of just hard to see. Like I assume, if you lose a season ticket holder, right, there's got to be a wait list, right, of people to jump right in.
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Yeah.
The wait list started after we won the Stanley Cup in 2011, literally that June 2011.
Right.
And again, they hired me in December 2011. So
Oh.
I've known nothing else ever
Right.
since I've been here. There's been a wait list. So that's great leverage too for us.
Mhm.
When the end of the year, we're getting ready, looking ahead to next season, and we're starting to have these conversations with our season ticket holders, which is a huge book of business, right? Like 75 to 80% of the TD Garden on a Bruins game day is season ticket holders. Like it's a big book of business, and it's a wide range too. Like I think people hear season ticket holders and they hear fan relations and they think that it's B2C, business to consumer, but the fan base, like our season ticket base, is all over the place. It's also B2B. It's business to business. We have season ticket holders who are companies. We have people or season ticket holders who are, just general fans. Some are families. Some are celebrities. It's a wide range of people within our client base. So when we have these conversations for, next season, here's what your price is, here's the benefits we're going to offer you. Like we like to give people more than just tickets to the game.
Right.
Like we want to give them an amazing experience because they're so loyal to us, because they're willing to buy a full season worth of tickets from us. Like they're our lifeline. They are a huge part of our business. And so with that, we try to give them extra experiences so they enjoy the season outside of just going to the game. So I don't remember where we started with this question, but what I'm getting at is that it's a big book of business, and every year when it's time to get people. Oh, we started talking about the wait list. That's what
wait list.
And the leverage there is that we have a wait list. So if someone is thinking about not coming back next season, I guarantee you, what anyone on my staff will do is they'll try to figure out why. Like what's the reason? And it could be a million reasons. It could be the price is too high. It could be, hey, my kids are off to college. I have to pay college tuition. It could be, I'm moving to California. It could be anything. But once we figure that out, anyone on my staff will tell them, hey, there's a wait list that's 6-7 years long. Oof. So if you leave now, you're gonna have to wait at least 5, 6, 7 years to get back. And it's not meant to be a threat.
No.
It's more so like, hey, do you even know that? And some people don't. And some people are, they're happy that it's brought up because we open their eyes to say, okay, wait a second. I'm sitting on gold. I'm sitting on an investment here.
Right.
So yeah, the wait list is huge. And like I said earlier, I haven't known any different because it started a few months before I started here.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't put that together when you said December 2011 to just think that we won that year. But it makes
Which brings up a sore point for me is I'm actually the longest tenured employee here without a Stanley Cup ring.
but you don't have to do that to yourself. Don't put that on you. Not to bring it up again, but I had so much hope this year. And you mean
Yeah, a lot of people did. That's
Oh,
kind of the beauty of hockey, though, James, is like, especially the NHL playoffs, is that like that's why we like it.
you don't
Is
know.
because you don't know. NBA playoffs, you have an idea who your conference finals are going to be, the final four teams are going to be.
That's true. That's true.
NFL playoffs, at least one of the top teams is making the Super Bowl, if not both.
That's true.
But the thing with the NHL is that every round is different. Your first round could be harder than your third round.
Right.
That doesn't happen in any other sport. Usually, every other sport, it progressively gets harder. Round one is the easiest, round two, a little harder, on and on. Hockey, round one, like if we ended up playing all four rounds this past year, I would have told you that round one against Florida was the hardest round. And that makes things interesting on the business side, right? Because we have to price these tickets accordingly.
Right.
And like a round one game versus Toronto, probably worth more than a round two game against, I don't know, some small market team that people maybe don't care as much about, right? So that goes right into the business,
Listen, I understand that because in high school when I'm trying to buy nosebleeds to a postseason game, I can see the difference there between who we're playing.
100%. Yeah, especially the resale market is where you see it most.
Oh, I honestly have not been to a game in a long time, but like my buddies and I obviously used to try and go. And yeah, it would hurt our pockets, but we have.
My apologies. Sorry.
I know it's not you. I know it's not. Don't worry. So I wanted to say, because you touched a lot about, I actually had, the WNBA Kinetic Suns, and that you said you work for sports communication with the football and basketball team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel? I mean, you touched on a little bit, but like resources and opportunities that the sport management program and just WVU in general kind of gave you, because I know I feel it sometimes, like even just with this, right? The fact that I'm having this conversation with you, and we can already relate on just the alumni, that you're an alumni and I'm a student is, amazing, and something that I'm really glad I'm indulged in this program. But how do you feel that like some of those opportunities and resources really put you ahead of the pack almost to go right to Tampa, right? We're pretty close to like a few months.
Yeah. A few months later. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing really was the exposure to alumni and people in sports. When I was there, I thought as a student, the greatest education I was getting was, like what I said before about the classroom, and like you get exposed to all these different topics, right? Sports law, sports governance, whatever. I don't know what's in the curriculum now, but when I was there, you got exposed to so many different fields, which is important. But not only that, but also the fact that the best education you could get was talking to alumni and meeting people who actually worked in sports and understanding their firsthand perspective of what working in sports is like. And the other thing is what I mentioned earlier about being able to work for, go to a university and get experience in an athletic department that's as good as WVU. Again, when I was there, the football team and the basketball team were incredible, top 10 teams in the country. And
Not right now.
Not right now, but and we'll be back. We'll get there. Don't worry.
This weekend, I feel good.
Yeah, this Saturday, hopefully, yeah, especially. But just regardless of how the teams are doing, forget I even said that. Forget wins and losses.
Right.
You're in an athletic department, going to that school for sport management in an athletic department that is as polished as any athletic department in the country. Forget wins and losses. Forget any of that. Forget rankings. It's an athletic department that's been around for a long time and in a huge conference, and that's just, that in itself is incredible exposure versus, and not to belittle other schools, but like if you're a sport management student at a school that's maybe, doesn't have a Big 12 athletic department, then,
Right.
it might be harder. You might not be getting the same exposure. Like, our games were on ESPN and ABC in prime time. And like that in itself, and working those games where college game day was there for basketball and for football, like that, just working that environment was like, it equates to what happens here at the Garden. Like it equates to exactly, us being in the Stanley Cup Finals or the Celtics being in the NBA Finals. Like it's the same buzz and it's the same high level, nationwide programming.
Right. Well, I appreciate that insight. And just a thought, I want to hear your thoughts here that college game day is going to Boulder over backyard brawl. Just I don't understand how that can even.
Wouldn't have happened when I was in Morgantown.
I mean, I get the buzz with prime time.
Prime time, yeah.
But over a historic, it hasn't happened here in, I mean, how many years? We haven't had it in so long.
Probably since right after. So when I was there, it was the Big East.
Right.
And we played every year on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving.
Nope.
So I feel like it was a couple years after I graduated was the last backyard brawl. So
that
is a shame.
There's some hostility around Morgantown right now that, tensions are high because we're upset.
But to relate that to sports business and sport management, like that's, you got to go where the buzz is. That's,
right.
The buzz is everything. And the brand of Colorado right now is just insane. It's insane.
I love them though. I really do.
It's fun to watch. It's good. It's good. It's good for sport.
They're very likable. I think
I agree.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I also have, I guess, Zoom's cutting off my my recording.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask.
I've got time. So if you want to keep going, or if you want to, get a new Zoom, whatever works for you. I don't mind.
Yeah, I definitely want to keep going. I just want to make sure this fits in the recording. I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all, and then we can keep talking. But I mean, you have thrown in here and there. But like, do you have any specific advice that students can take into consideration? I know you dropped a lot of the like getting involved, getting your foot in the door, but even advice that you can take as a student, right? So you said a lot about like your career and like after the fact, but would you just say more involvement? Like how maybe what's some advice you'd give?
Yeah, I think involvement is good. I mean, I think volunteering and participating everywhere you can matters, because you don't know who you're going to meet. Like volunteer for that blood drive that the sport management club is putting on. Like you don't know who you're going to meet by being there. And also it's good exposure. Like it's good, sport teams that you might end up working for might have blood drives as well, right? Like there's things that you can do where in the short term it might not seem like this experience matters, but you never know when it will matter. And so yeah, I think just getting involved, I think, using LinkedIn, just to see the path of where people have gone, right? Like if you know exactly what you want to do in sports, go find someone with that job on LinkedIn and see exactly what they did and copy it. I mean, it's a free blueprint, try to do exactly what they did, and, and that'll help. I mean, it helps to use that to your advantage. Yeah, I think just really, getting those experiences as a student, volunteering. I think within the sport management program, like getting to know your fellow students, like you don't know where your fellow students are going to end up, right? Like look at the sport management council. Some of those people I knew from being a student.
Right.
And like we all have different jobs in sports doing completely different things. But 10, 15 years ago, we were just going to class and doing homework, right? So it's like I think that's another thing that students overlook is I think they forget that their peers in the classroom are people that they might be working with someday, or people that, might be good to know in the long term, for the long-term success and just learning, right? Like I can call someone that I went to WVU with to ask them a question like, hey, how did you guys handle this? I saw the Chicago Blackhawks did this. Like, how do you guys handle that? Or I saw the Red Sox did this. How do you guys, how did you handle it? And it helps me learn to make me better in my job. And it's all because I knew who these people were. I was friends with them. We were in the class together. So
Right.
that's something I think that's overlooked.
That's honestly, that's
Sorry.
something that I really haven't thought about too much. And I'm glad you like brought that up. Because for one, it is a small major. Like sport management is not a massive like engineering or marketing, whatever it is.
Right.
The same professors. I could name, the four that I have in multiple classes, that even the ones like you remember, right? You guys all, I'm sure, had the same 3 or 4 sport management professors.
Same professors, same classes, right? Like we're doing the
Right.
same work. We have the
It
same interests.
was CPAS, right? Is what they call it.
Yep, that's what it was when I was there. Yeah.
So like that, and that hasn't changed, just the name has changed. So it's the same difference. Let me just pause this now.